Uh, Hello, and welcome to our first video lecture. And this lecture is going to be, you know, one of those auxiliary pieces of information that you need to know, and you're really expected to have a good grasp of it because you're going to be expected in the lab to be consistently using these approaches. Now, what we're going to do today is probably something it might be the first time you're encountering this, but I'm going to show you how to work with packages in Java. Okay, so packages are designed to segregate your program into logical partitions by putting your source files, your the Java files, in different folders, right? Even though they're all under the same program, they'll be in different folders. So for now, I'm going to show you just the basics of how you work with that. So I'm going to be doing this from the command line, and by now I expect every single one of you to know how to use the command line. Okay, and since we are going to be compiling using the command line in the labs, and I'm going to make sure that this is enforced in the labs. If you demonstrate that you can do this, you get some marks. Okay, so I know you guys love your marks, so that's your incentive. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to create the folder where my project is going to be. So I'm going to create a folder and call it, I'll call it people. So that will be the name of my project. So I'll cd into that. Now here's what's going to happen. Normally you'll find out that in Java, especially when you're now starting to deal with larger programs, the source files are kept separate from the class files, right? So if you still remember your introduction to Java, you know that when you compile a source file, you get a class file, which is what you're going to run, which contains the Java virtual machine bytecode, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two folders inside my people project. I'm going to create one called source, and then I'm going to create another one called classes. Right, so the source folder is where I'm going to put all my packages and the source files, and the classes folder is where I'm going to put where when I compile, the Java compiler is going to put all my bytecode. Okay, now I'm gonna go into this the source folder, and inside here I'm going to create the first level of my packages. Now packages are simply as a hierarchy of directories. So the first level is going to be, I'm going to create a directory called CSI 247. Okay, so that's the first level. So remember, the source folder isn't part of the package, it's just a directory that's going to hold all the packages and the source folders. Okay, right, now I'm going to cd into the CSI 247 folder. Now it's empty, so one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to create a second level of package, right? mkdirect, and I'll call it person. Okay, then I'll cd into that, I'll change it into that. Now just a quick graphical demonstration of what's actually happening here. So this is my project, and inside here I've got the two folders, source and classes. Inside the source class, the source folder, I have the first package folder, CSI 247. Inside that, I have the person one. Now, inside the person folder, I'm going to inside this folder, I'm going to create my first class. Use the touch command, person.java. Now watch the window on the right. So there's the file, it's been created. Now of course I can use the normal text editors, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to use Vim and edit that. So right now, because my folder, my person file is inside a package, right? So this is the package. Yes, it's inside the package CSI247 and the person. So for Java to be able to manage that properly, I have to declare that this class is inside a package, and I do that by using the keyword package, and then it's CSI247.person, right? And then that's when I can start creating my class. Now, as a quick recap of what classes are essentially meant to be a blueprint of the objects that you are trying to deal with. In this case, I'm trying to deal with a person, so I need to create a class for it. I'll call it person. Right now, if you remember, right, you know that the class name must always be exactly the same as the file name, right? So that's person. So the file, it's inside the file person.java, right? Now, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to say, okay, in this case, I want to model 3 properties of my person, right? I want to model their age, their first name, and their surname. Okay, so that means I need 3 instance variables: private int age, private, so string name, private string surname, right? Now I'm going to create 2 constructors. Now, as a recap, also, constructors are the methods that have the same name as the class but do not have a return type declaration. Okay, so if you remember your methods, you know that methods have to have a return type declaration, the name of the method, and the parameters that the method takes, right? In this case, constructors are special kinds of methods that have exactly the same name as the class, okay, but do not have a return type declaration. So I'm going to create what we refer to as a default constructor. So this is a constructor that doesn't have any parameters. So public person, and then open and close brackets, then I do my curly brackets. Right, so I'm going to say age is equal, this dot age is equals to 0, and this dot name is equals to an empty string, this dot surname is equals to another empty string, right? And then I'm going to create another one that takes all the needed parameters, another constructor. So int age, string name, string surname. So I'm going to assign my instance variables to the values that I'm passing through the constructor arguments. So this dot age is equals to age, this dot name is equals to name, this dot surname is equals to surname. Now, what I'm doing here is, since the names of my method parameters are the same as the names of my instance variables, I need to separate, I need to tell Java which variable I'm assigning to which one. So when I'm saying this dot age, I'm referring to that age, and this age is simply that one. Okay, so the same for the other ones. Now, the next part of this is, okay, I'm going to create my setters, right? So public void set age, int age, this dot age is equals to age, this dot name is equals to name. Then I create the setter method for the surname as well. Sorry, there we go. Then I'm going to create my accessor or getter methods. Now you know that getter methods return the value of the instance variables. So it's public int get age. This one doesn't take any parameters because it's not supposed to. So return age. Return name. The getter method for the final one, for the surname. Right, so one of the other things I'm going to do is, we'll talk about this later, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a toString method. Well, by now you should have encountered the toString methods before. So I'm going to do this, like at override. I'll explain what the override method is later, but for now just get used to doing this. Okay, so public string to string. Now one piece of information is this at override will only work on in this class. The at override method will only work on the toString method. Okay, I'll explain that in subsequent lectures as we go along, but if I try to put this at override in any of my other methods, that's not going to work. So I'm going to do return string dot format person right. So I'm formatting a string so that I can say person. So this is the name, the surname, and the age. Right, so there's my class. Okay, there's my class. I just need to save it now. Okay, now just to kind of show what's happened. So this is the class, this is what it contains, but like I said, I'm not bothered with using that. So this is my person class inside the package that I designed. So I'm gonna move one package up, right? And here I'm going to create my tester class. So which means somewhere up here, in here, I'm going to create my class, my tester class, type test.java. That's what I'm gonna call it. And then right. So this one is in a different package. It's in a package one step up from the person class. So we declare package it's CSI 247, right? Now we're going to use my person class, so I need to import it. Import CSI 247 dot person dot person. Now by now you should be used to the import statement. You've used it so many times now. So this will probably be the first time you'd be doing an import statement for a class that you actually created. Okay, so let's start with the tester class. public class test. So my main method, public static void main Right, so what I'm going to do, declare my person object. Let's say p1 is equals to new person. So this one I'm going to create using my default constructor. So p1, so now I have to set the different parts of it. p1 dot set age 11, p1 dot set name I'll call this one John. p1 dot set surname I'll call him Doe. The same will be Doe. Right, now I can print out this. Send that out the printf percentage s slash n, then p1 dot, we're going to call the toString method, so to get that string we created there. Now I'm going to, so in this case what I'm doing is I'm creating a person instance, an instance of a person object, and the variable is called p1, and I'm creating it using the default constructor, you know, that constructor that takes no arguments but then sets the values to default with the age being 0 and the name and the surname being empty strings, right? So now what I'm doing here is I'm going to set those specific those instance variables to new values. Okay, so in this case the age is 11, the name is John, the surname is Joe, and I'm just printing that out. So I'm going to create a new person object. This time I'm going to call the constructor that takes all the values of my I need to pass. In this case the name will be Jane, and then the surname I'll give it Joe again, right? In this case I'm just going to I don't need to do the setters because I've already set the particulars of my person here. Okay, so that's done. I can save my file. Now here's what's going to happen now. Now this is the part that you need to kind of pay attention to a bit if you've been sleeping through the video so far. Now I need to go back up to the root folder of my project, so this folder. So I need to go all the way back up here, right? So I'm going to compile this such that the class files go into the classes directory while the source folder remains intact. That way you get to manage this better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call my javac command, and then I'm going to tell it that -d, which says the destination of the which says put all the source files, all the class files in this particular directory, right? So that's the classes directory. Now to compile this, I'm going to do minus source path. I'm going to tell it it's the source folder. Now I need to give it the classes to compile. To do that, I'm going to do source /* which says for every directory inside the source folder, look for the .java files. Look for the .java files and compile those. Okay, so it's telling me there's an error in this class. So in the test.java there's an error there. So now I can see what the error is, in that in the line number 14 I have system.out.printf %s \n and then dot. That's not supposed to be a dot, it's supposed to be a comma. Okay, so I can quickly do them and to edit that. Right, so I can go there. Right, so now that tells me that I've compiled my classes. So if I check, so there's the test.class inside the person, there's the thing. Now, in order to run this, I need to do Java. Okay, so this is the part where I have to tell it where to find the files to run. So I'm going to do minus class path. Okay, I'm going to do minus class path, and then the package, we call them fully qualified names, right, for the class that has the main method, and that class is in the package CSI 247 dot, and the name of the class is test. Oops, sorry, center minus class path. Okay, I forgot that. Did I miss that? Sorry, I forgot to tell it the. So I said minus class path, but I didn't tell it which that class path it is. So that. So there we go. So we now have the information that we're printing. So we've got my person John Doe is aged 11 and person Jane Doe is aged 11. Great. So that is how you manage packages and classes, so that your source files are separated from your class files. Okay, so this is going to be your modus operandi, which is essentially means that that's how I expect you to run the lab, to work in the labs. Only separate your source files from your class files. Okay,